Now, back when Ariana Grande performed at Coachella with NSYNC, no one could have expected to get more surprises. Except they did, because she brought Nicki Minaj, Mace, and best of all, Diddy. Now, the way they was performing on stage suggested that they were closer than just being co-workers.
Narratives.
Yeah. The thing is that, like, we know this about the tabloids and about the media and about, like, am I crazy? Don't we know this?
Yeah, but nobody cares for the sake of a good story or for curing one's boredom on the internet.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's like we selectively remember that this is what the tabloids do to people, especially women, based on whether or not we like them. I feel like we don't need to go into any specifics, but of course there's like an insatiable frustration, inexplicable, hellish feeling with watching people misunderstand the people you love. And I think it's the absolute worst idea. I'm so nervous. Well, because pieces of it touch on things that are real, and then pieces of it are also just like
a part of a concept.
Yeah, part of the concept. So what is that separation? And it's so scary to leave it up to these selective memory people to decipher. It's scary, but I digress. Too late. The vinyls have been printed.
So naturally, when Diddy started getting hit with sex trafficking and sexual assault allegations, left, right, and center, a lot of people was wondering why she'd gone silent. Now, eventually, she came out with her response saying that it's just smoke that the media is throwing out and people are believing it.
To the statute of limitations, and can you explain what this is?
Statute of limitations are laws that prevent people from being prosecuted for certain crimes past a certain period. So there are some crimes such as murder that there is no statute of limitations for, and also rape, for example, in federal court, and other sexual assaults, there's no statute of limitations. The reason that statute of limitations exists is because if you're charged with something that happened 10, 15 years ago, a lot of the witnesses can no longer be located and records become unavailable. And I've defended people who've been accused of things that happened in this, for example, and a lot of the records that would have been truly beneficial to the client were no longer in existence. People's memories are much more foggy of the exact details of what occurred, and also key witnesses sadly have passed away.
The cases that are being brought against Diddy are civil rather than criminal. What's the difference between the two?
Criminal cases are prosecuted by the state, so each individual state, or the U.S. government if you're in federal court, while civil cases generally involve private parties. The standard for the burden of proof is different. So it's lower when it comes to civil cases. And a classic example of this is O.J. Simpson was tried for the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, and he was found not guilty, but then there was a civil case brought against him by her family members, and he was found guilty there. So the burden of proof is lower in civil cases. In criminal cases, the burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the highest possible standard here in the United States. And in civil cases, it's typically preponderance of evidence, which is a lower bar. So it's a lot easier to be found guilty when you're charged with a civil charge or something that's analogous.
Now, a lot of people like Ariana did think that Diddy was being framed, but when that video of him beating Cassie was released, everybody realized that she was involved in Diddy's shady dealings as well.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you gotta do that. I was fucked up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
And the fact that Diddy wasted no time in releasing a half-baked apology video was enough confirmation that he knew what he did was messed up beyond anything.
Yet another woman has filed a lawsuit against Sean Combs, claiming that he sexually assaulted her, this one back in 2003. Her name is Crystal McKinney. She was a model in the late 90s and early aughts. She appeared on some MTV shows, including Total Request Live. McKinney's suit says in 2003, a designer invited her to meet Combs during Men's Fashion Week. The suit says the designer began to direct plaintiff's appearance as he sought to ensure that Combs found her attractive. For instance, the designer instructed plaintiff to go to Elizabeth Arden to get a root touch-up to ensure it was platinum blonde. The suit says that the designer even had a stylist put hair extensions in McKinney's hair and then handpicked her clothes, a black leather coat with a fur hood, a translucent chiffon beige V-cut shirt, and jeans encrusted with jewels. The suit says at a dinner that Combs told McKinney she was gorgeous and that she would make it big one day. She claims he made promises that he would help her advance her career. The suit says that Combs even gave McKinney his phone number as a show of good faith. She claims he was flirty and almost leering at her. Then later that night, she went to his recording studio, and that's where she said the assault took place. The suit says McKinney found Combs and several other men seated together, and they were drinking Hennessy and passing around joints. One of Combs's associates asked her, quote, "Do you smoke weed?" And she said yes. McKinney said that Combs told her, "You've never had weed like this before," and passed the joint to her. The suit says that McKinney took a hit off the joint, and it felt powerful, like she was floating. She says she later found out it had been laced with a narcotic, and then Combs pressured her to drink more alcohol and smoke more of the joint, with Combs telling her she was being too uptight. Then the suit says that Combs led McKinney into the bathroom, where he forced her to perform oral on him, pushing her head into his crotch and telling her, quote, The suit says that McKinney lost consciousness and came to in a taxi cab. The suit goes on to claim that Combs had her blackballed in the industry, and that she went into a deep depression.
Now, what makes matters worse is that Diddy is still being hit with one lawsuit after another, with the latest one being filed by a woman named Crystal McKinney, who claims that Diddy drugged and assaulted her back in 2003.
Sean Diddy Combs faces another new lawsuit, the second this week. In the suit filed yesterday, a woman accuses Combs of rape and sexual assault. Meanwhile, his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, is responding for the first time to graphic video of Combs assaulting her back in 2016. Our national correspondent, Jerika Duncan, has more, and we want to warn you, the details are disturbing. Jerika, good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. The details are disturbing indeed. This is now the seventh lawsuit directly accusing Sean Diddy Combs of sexual assault. Ventura filed a separate lawsuit in November, which has been settled. And allegations in this suit describe Combs forcing himself onto this woman and in one encounter demanding that she take drugs. April Lampros, according to documents filed in New York County Supreme Court, says she met Sean Diddy Combs in early 1994 while she was attending the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. She says Combs promised her mentorship, invited her to parties, and showered her with gifts. But according to the filing, those gestures became abusive, and Combs began to show a terrible temper and often threatened Lampros. She alleges 4 encounters with Combs, including one in 1995, where Lampros says Combs raped her in a New York City hotel, and then another incident that year where she alleges an attendant witnessed Combs assault her in a parking garage. According to the documents, when Lampros tried to distance herself from Combs, he retaliated by having her fired from her job at a restaurant. Lampros is now the second woman this week to file a lawsuit against Combs.
Now, just a week before her, another woman by the name of April Lampros filed her own lawsuit, and the things that he did to her are so heinous that they make your blood chill.
Gripping story. Producer Lil Rod, whose given name is Rodney Jones, has now accused Sean Diddy Combs of operating a racketeering enterprise, groping him, forcing him to engage acts with sex workers, including underage girls. There's a 73-page complaint, ladies and gentlemen. Quote, throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones witnessed, experienced, and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer on the Love album. Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured, hear this, hundreds of hours of footage and audio records of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity in the lawsuit. Lil Rod claims that Diddy forced him to work in the bathroom as Diddy showered, and that Diddy engaged in constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his. Lil Rod also accused Diddy of drugging him. This happened according to the lawsuit, February 2023, when he woke up unclothed, disoriented, and in a bed with Diddy and 2 sex workers. The lawsuit accuses Coram of helping Diddy, quote, to groom him being Lil Rod, into accepting a homosexual relationship. Mr. Jones was terrified of Mr. Combs. He felt like he could not.
So he's declaring that he has personal knowledge of the facts set forth within. He knows to be true and correct, and if called upon to testify as witness, I could and would competently testify thereto. From September 22 to November 23, he produced 9 songs on his Love album, Diddy's Love album, as well as playing instruments. He worked at the offices. He lived with Combs for months at a time, spending holidays, missing major events. He was very demanding, would often deny requests to go home. Diddy was a tough boss. I lived at his residence in LA, New York, and Miami. I also spent several weeks on a yacht he rented in St. Martin and Virgin Islands. While living with and working with Mr. Combs, I witnessed and experienced and endured many things that went far beyond my role as a producer on the Love album. This is the key. I have hundreds of hours of video and audio recordings and photos of incidents that I detail in my first and proposed Second Amendment complaints. So he's basically saying, this is real. Stop saying it's not. Stop saying we're being sloppy. We're just trying to do it. This is not just accusations. We have proof. So yeah, no joke. Mr. Combs required that I record him constantly. He did not like to repeat himself, and I quickly learned that from observing him lose his temper with his staff and family if they failed to remember something he said a day or two prior. Several occasions, Mr. Combs took my cell phone and began.
But the most explosive of all of these was filed by Lil Rod earlier in 2024.
That boy better start kicking that habit, because he gonna have it bad in church. Y'all thought Suge Knight was passing out and shit in the courtroom. Man, when they go, if he hooked on drugs like that, that nigga gonna be in there throwing up. He gonna be like going through withdrawals. He ain't gonna be able to go to court. And that's gonna be a sad, sad day. So if I can tell you anything, Diddy, man, you going to prison if you don't off yourself or go over there with your boy Russell. So or a country that is like Russell that doesn't extradite. But so you going to prison. So dog, before worrying about all of this stuff, you better kick that habit. Cause I seen niggas just for a day or two, how they were acting when they be going through those withdrawals. And bro, you gonna be hurting. You ain't gonna be able to help with your defense. You gonna be looking bad in front of that judge when he ain't gonna give you a bail. And so, bro, that would be my advice to you, man. Start getting that. Go check yourself into rehab real quick, because if any of that's true, you obviously have a bad drug habit. And when you're going through withdrawals and stuff like that, you cannot concentrate on fighting your freedom and all of that. All you worried about is getting that fix. And so I heard those statements, I heard that, but I hope that's not true. But if he got it bad like that, he gonna have it bad in there. And bro, you got about 3 to 4 months. About 3 months to get yourself right. So I know you right now, and you're talking to lawyers and trying to figure this out and buy everybody off and stuff. And, take care of stuff, which, hey, that's your prerogative. But just in case those things don't work out, go get yourself clean, bro. Check yourself into a program real quick. Because if you don't, it's going to be hard in prison. And not prison, in jail. Because they don't give a fuck about you in there. And the guards that they going to have around you is not going to be the type of guards that you can buy off. And that's going to be having you accessible to those. Those the motherfuckers that don't care that you can't buy and get to, because they know people in your position and have money like you, will slide them something. You're not going to have access to inmates and stuff like that to slide you something. You're going to have it rough in there, bro. A lot of people think guys that snitches, well, not snitches, but guys that, go to jail and all that, people going to look out and all of that for you. They keep you away from them. You're going to be isolated. It's harder doing time in PC. Ask anybody that's been there. They have it harder in ASAG or...
So with everything that's coming out, a lot of people believe it's only a matter of time before Diddy gets convicted of all the allegations against him.